Everyone, happy Friday. This is Nitya Ramachandra from the NR Media NR Hour Sports Show, back with another episode. We're heading to the weekend, and playoff football is here. We're excited. Everybody's excited for playoff football, so please tune in into today's episode. This is going to be a good one. But before we introduce today's guest, we are live on iHeartRadio, Spotify, on all the podcast platforms, and fans, please tune in. Everybody knows about your Speak Wrap on my phone, where you can put your questions in, and we'll answer your questions today for today's guest. And today's guest, her name is Sanaz Tavassol. She's a amazing, inspiring sports reporter, podcaster, everything. She's a jack of all trades, and they cover everything. They have a podcast called Football is Sexy, which we'll get to, and we'll get to her journey, how she started in the sports industry, and we'll get to all the football news that's going on, which is crazy. All the NFL news with the coaching carousel and the players, and getting ready for football playoff weekend, but. Sanaz, I just want to say thank you for joining the show. It's truly an honor to get to meet you and meet you virtually and get to know more about your story. And like I said, fans, please tune in on the Speak Wrap. Put your questions in there. She'll answer some of your questions. But thank you for joining, and Happy New Year to you and your family and the rest of the crew. And how are you and your family doing? Welcome to our family.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on. I love your podcast.
Thank
It's
you.
so fresh. Thank you. And then, yeah, things are going great. New Year's have started off well over here. Football's been a little rough for me
Yeah.
this year, being a Chargers fan. But other than that, things have been going pretty good.
All right. So before we get to your journey and career, tell our fans, what are your thoughts on this crazy coaching carousel? And your Chargers are open for a coaching vacancy. So,
Oh, my Chargers are open, and goodness gracious, would I love to get Harbaugh.
yeah.
That's my goal. If you ask me right now who the Chargers need, they need Harbaugh. He's got experience, but he's a smart coach. He knows defense really well, and that's what I think we've really been lacking. With Staley, goodness gracious. I mean, I can't even count how many times I thought I was having a stroke just watching
Yeah.
him talk. But I think Harbaugh would be a really good pick. I think Ron Rivera would be a really good pick. Ron Rivera was on our staff for a while, and we were good when Ron was on our staff. He's a really smart defensive minded coach as well. I could tell you who I don't want is Bill Belichick.
Mhm.
I will promise you this. If Bill Belichick finds a way to mosey over to California and be my new coach, I will not be a Chargers fan next year. I can't get behind him. I get it. He's a GOAT. He's the greatest of all times. 9 Super Bowls, whatever. I don't like him. I think he's a cheater. I hate the way he cuts the sleeves off his hoodies. I don't dig it. So that's for one. Then you have like Pete Carroll,
Yeah.
legend, right? Legend at USC. A friend of mine, Mark Sanchez, when he went to USC, Pete and him were like, bro, yeah, we love Mark. They were like, father son, and I think Pete's a great coach too. But he's 72. Let's let the guy relax, right?
Yeah.
And then we would be remiss to not talk about Nick Saban.
Mhm.
I mean, legendary does not even begin to describe what Saban's done over there with Alabama. And he had his stint in the NFL. It didn't go too well. But I mean, Saban is amazing too. And then the other coaches that are leaving, I mean, like Tampa Bay just lost their coach. I don't know where he's going to end up. Um,
I,
I don't, he's a tough one for me, you know? And then there's a lot of talk about Tomlin.
mhm.
But I think Tomlin has been an amazing coach for the Steelers. I don't think he's done yet.
Yeah.
I think he hasn't had the pieces that he needs. I mean, Pickett isn't a franchise quarterback. I mean, so I think Tomlin should get another couple of years out there, and I think he would deserve that.
Hmm. Yeah, you're gonna like this. Actually, we had Mark Sanchez on the show a couple years back.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he was awesome. What a great guy, and I love talking to him, and I was honored to have him on the show a couple years back. And also, you're gonna like this. We also had Austin Eckler on the show too.
No,
Yeah,
my bud.
yeah, yeah. So you're
Oh
part of you're part
gosh.
of your circle right now. So
I
what?
love that. I love that. Eckler is gosh, I really I was really worried about him this year.
Yeah.
The contract thing is a little rough, and he didn't really get the opportunities I thought he should have gotten this year. And I just think the way they were running the offense, it just made things messy. I mean, same with like Keenan Allen. I adore Keenan Allen. I adore his wife. And he just didn't get the passes he should have gotten. And it's like, you've wasted a year of Keenan
Yeah.
Allen, and you've wasted a year of Bosa, you've wasted a year of Eckler. And that was my big issue with the Chargers. And I've said it before, like, people are naive to think that the only problem with the Chargers was Staley. It wasn't. That he might be the head, but like, it drops down. We spent so much money on players that are doing
Yeah.
nothing. And that was the big problem over there with the Chargers. But again, with Mark, yeah, we went to high school together,
Oh,
Mission Vale
nice.
High School, go Diablos. Yes, and he's comes from an amazing family, and he's such a humble guy. And I love Mark. I love him to death.
All right, then I'll send this to him, and then I'll send his interview to you so you can.
I would love to watch it. Yes, please.
But yeah. So tell our fans. So women in sports is growing big time now, and tell our fans, how did Sanaz Tavassol get into the sports industry, and how did you get started?
Yeah. Okay. So your girl Sanaz started off as an intern in college. We all had to find internships, and I went to Cal State Fullerton, and I was like, where can I intern? Oh, look, there's an opening for KCal 9, and KCal 9 at the time was the home of the Lakers. So it was a pretty big deal being born and raised a Laker fan. I mean, from Nick Van Axel, Vlade Divac days, because of my dad. I said I got to try out for this internship. And I went there, and it was basically working in the newsroom.
Hmm.
And what we would do was log games. And logging games is basically, you sit and watch a game, you go off a master clock, and you're like, okay, 12, 22, 45, Kobe slam dunk, 12, 33, 45, this. You're making a log of highlights of a game. Then you're going through and picking what you thought was best, giving that over to the producer, and then the producer, or sometimes if you're lucky, like I got lucky myself, we would get to write script. And I would write script for James Worthy,
Hmm.
Eric Karros from the Dodgers, Jim Hill, who was a Charger. I mean, legends, right? And I'd write script for these guys. The more and more they trusted me, the more and more they're like, no, we want Sanaz to handle this. She knows what she's doing. We like her energy. We like her attitude. And it was actually big game James Worthy, who was like, Sanaz, you got way too much attitude and spunk to be behind the camera. You need to be in front of it.
Wow.
And I thought, no, like, I don't really have the face for it or the voice or whatever. And he was like, yeah, you're crazy. Yes, you do. So it was him and Jim Hill who started taking me to Laker games
Hmm.
and literally putting a microphone in my hand and going into a locker room and being like, go.
Wow.
And super daunting. You're a girl in a locker room. There weren't many. I mean, I think I could only ever remember another time there being like one other girl, but I was really small. And what helped me is when you're about to do a locker room interview, when you guys are watching this on TV, basically what's happening is that player sitting in his chair, and 15 people are just running up with a microphone and trying to wiggle their microphone in just to get that sound bite. So
Yeah.
I would go like under and over people and get in there and like get the sound bites I could. And my first ever real I got to ask questions interview was with Kobe Bryant.
Wow.
And Kobe did, I mean, this is something that people still talk about. I went in there, I had my microphone up, and I was ducking, and somebody hit me in the back of the head with a camera.
Hmm.
And Kobe literally went, stop. Everybody stop. Turn your cameras off. And everyone was like, what's about to happen? Is he mad? Is he angry? And he was like, everybody step back. And then he looked at me and he went, you, come here. And he's like, you're going to get to go. And you're going to ask the questions, and everyone else in here is going to remember how to act when there's a lady in the locker room.
Wow.
And I was so nervous, but it worked out. And I'll never forget that day. He had recognized me a little bit from working Lakers practices, but that was so huge to me. And people afterward were like, did you see what Kobe did for that little intern? And it was such an out of body experience for me. I mean, to me, Kobe is the GOAT,
Yes.
greatest of all time. I'm sorry, LeBron is great, nothing but love. Johnny Buss is a good friend of mine. I always tease him about it, but Kobe is the GOAT,
Wow.
and that was a huge moment for me, and that really kind of pushed me into going, okay, maybe I should look into this more. So from there, I started doing all the locker room interviews for the Lakers, sometimes the NHL Kings, the Clippers, the Angels, and the Dodgers,
Hmm.
and the Ducks.
Hmm.
Um, and from there, I literally bounced from like smaller company to smaller company, like little startups. Like one was called Pro Angle Media. One was, and these were all little guys, but they would get pretty good gigs like Nike Academies at Modern Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd work those. And then you never listen, like to tell everyone, you never know who shows up to these little gigs.
Right.
I had Mitch Kupchak at
Mm-hmm.
one of at Modern Day.
Mm-hmm.
And I bugged him for an interview and I got a great interview. I had Coach Brown at one because his son played there. Like it was just, you never know. So I always tell the girls that are interning or even like, the guys, whoever, like never say no. If you have the, if you have the ability to say yes, say yes.
Yep.
You never know what can come from it. And from there, I went to ESPN and I worked for ESPN 2 and 3 covering the Big West Conference. And so much fun. I actually really liked it because it's a little conference that not many people know about, but there are a couple gems in there.
Mm.
Like Bruce Bowen, who
Yeah.
I absolutely adore. Yes, Bruce Bowen went to Cal State
Yeah.
Fullerton, and everyone always wonders why does he wear that bow tie? And people just think, oh, because his last name is Bowen, but it's not. He wears that bow tie because he says because optimism wins.
Hmm.
And I learned that from him. And we would have the most random people show up. Like, oh gosh, Reggie Theus was coaching, Cal State Northridge for a minute, and I would tease Reggie about everything. And like Reggie and I had a great rapport too. And you really got to meet some awesome kids. And like it's, I love college basketball more than college football. And from there, I did that, and I just kept working freelance, doing a lot of freelance work. And then when Football Sexy came along, Monica, who founded Football Sexy, we knew each other through kind of a mutual friend, but she called me one day and said, hey, I've watched some of your reels. I really dig you. This wild plan I have. I already have an app, but I want to have the first podcast of women talking football.
Mm.
And I looked into it and I checked out the app. Our app is sick. It has breaking news. It has pick'ems. It has what I love to call the dictionary for anybody who wants to learn or is getting to learn. Like the girlfriend whose boyfriend likes sport. My best friend's girlfriend has become a Panthers fan, poor thing, because my best friend is a Panthers fan, but she doesn't understand everything.
Yeah.
We have a dictionary on our app that will literally explain in layman's humans terms what's a safety, what's offsides, what's encroachment. And it's so much easier. And I saw the app and I saw such a need for it. And then Monica created such a safe place for us to talk without like the negativity coming in of like, oh, you're a girl. Oh, you don't know someone's stat. You must not be a fan. Or, oh, you don't know where Amari Cooper went to high school. You're an idiot. Like that went away. And we've seen such a reach out from people. And actually our demographic is about 65% men.
Wow.
So it's a really cool experience being a part of this. We've met some awesome people. I've got to work with some awesome people. We record out of the legendary Ice House, which is America's oldest comedy club. That Johnny Buss a few years ago, Johnny Buss, of course, being one of the owners of the Lakers, bought it, renovated it, and he is such a Football Sexy fan. We got him Laker colored gear that says Football Sexy, and it's really been a wild ride. And this is our first season, and we think it's gone really well.
And I'm glad that you sharing this on our platform today, and I'm glad that we're connected. And like you said, every opportunity that comes to you, especially in our industry, you got to say yes, and that's what I've been doing. I've been saying yes. I'm 4 years into media now, and we made so many connections like what you did too, and it's truly amazing to see where it can go if you keep doing the repetitions and saying yes to big opportunities. And by the way, first of all, thank you for sharing that Kobe story on her. Kobe was one of my favorite players growing up, and I live by the mama mentality. And my goal was to interview him, but unfortunately now, his family is such an inspiration, and I live by the mama mentality.
And you have to. I mean, talent and athleticism are two different things, and he had both. And I will tell you from working practices after practices, he was the first one there and he was the last one to leave. And when people would kind of like joke around, he would get pissed. Like that to him was not a joke, like the stories of like Team USA playing and players coming back at 3 a.m. and he's coming down the elevator to go to work out it's real. And so much love for Vanessa Bryant. She is an amazingly strong woman. She's an amazingly strong entrepreneur and mother. She is holding it down for that family. And like, my heart aches for her. I mean, Kobe and her have been together since she was a child. They've grown up together. And she's done such a good job. I'm so happy to hear she's going to be working with Nike again, because to me, not having a Kobe shoe with Nike would just be a detriment, you know? And I love that that's back. And Kobe really was, I mean, I get like emotional thinking about it because he really was unique, like it's being raised here. I'm first generation technically. My parents are both from Iran. My dad came here to go to USC. My mom came here to go to college as well. But my dad learned how to be an American going to the Forum and watching Laker games. And I'll never forget like the day Magic announced he was HIV positive and he was having to retire. I remember my dad crying. And now it's like, I remember exactly where I was the day I heard the news of the horrifying helicopter crash. Like, sports means so much more than just watching a game for 2 hours. It's literally something to connect people who don't know anything about each other than we like the same team.
Yeah.
And in today's world, I truthfully believe something as silly and small as sports is needed with all the anger and hate that's out there. Like, find something common to love each other with, and it means everything. And to touch back on what you said about, never saying no. I mean, I had jobs that I would work to support my passion.
Yeah.
I mean, your girl would literally be like, okay, we got a game in Northridge. You better get in the car, drive to Northridge. I live in Orange County. Do the game, rush back to Orange County and bartend till 4 a.m.
Wow.
And then wake up the next day at 7 and go to my office job and work from my office job from 8 to 5, go back to UC Irvine for another game. And when you're young, you have to do it. You have to hustle. And it's just something that's in you if you want to do it. And if you care about sports, you will. And as a female, it's getting easier. I won't lie. When I was first doing it, I'm a little older. So when I was first doing it, it was hard. Yeah. It was so hard to break the stigma. Now it's getting a little easier. And when you have the backing of amazing people like Monica, who has this passion instilled in her, and Johnny Buss, who has that passion, like, it's become a lot easier, thankfully.
Yeah. We do have a couple of fan questions in here. Actually, one of our fans said they love your passion and they already love they're listening the way you talk and they love it already. So,
oh man, thank you.
Yeah. So one of our fans,
I can be a little much.
No, you're fine. Hey, talk as much.
I love to call it passion, not crazy. That's my Persian part.
But yeah, we do have a fan question though. One of our fans wants to know, outside of all the interviews you've done, or outside of the Kobe interview, what they want to know, what else would you say your most memorable interview you've done?
My most memorable interview. This is a good one. Yeah. It was a Clipper game, and it actually wasn't an interview. Oh. Everyone in the locker room was, gosh, I think they were going to, it was Maggette. I don't know where everyone was going one way. And DeAndre was sitting in a chair and he was pissed. And I just remember looking over and him leaning forward in his chair and looking at all the reporters in one angle. And I kind of caught his eye and he looked at me and said, one day you are going to want to be interviewing me. And I'll never forget that, because I mean, at that time, I'm a 20-year-old. I don't know anything. And I'm looking at this man like shaky, and he looked at me and he said, believe that, little girl. Oh, wow. And I remember that day being like, this guy's got something. And then look, DeAndre Jordan ended up going on. He was an amazing player. You know what I mean? Like, he did so much for the teams he was on. So that was a really, really fun one for me. And it wasn't an interview, but it definitely shocked you a little bit. Like, when you're in that locker room, you guys, that is holy ground. You have to respect that locker room. Like, you tiptoe around people. Oh, yeah. Yep. And I've been in basketball locker rooms, hockey locker rooms, baseball locker rooms. I can tell you which one the worst is. But yeah. I mean, like, that was one of the most memorable moments I had was DeAndre. And I just saw this passion in him and this fire. And he's a great player, but at the time the Clippers weren't utilizing.
Hmm.
But that was probably one of my favorite
That
moments.
was during the Lob City years, right? Right.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, we have another fan question for you. They want to know funniest all right, they want to know funniest worker you worked with. They want to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the funniest people I work with,
Yeah.
Marshall Falk.
Mm.
Marshall Falk. He Man, oh man, him and Marshawn Lynch. I'll go with
Marshall.
Marshall though. Yeah, Marshawn too. Marshawn was great, but Marshall Falk, I remember, we were working. I was working a Pro Bowl event, and I was sort of like in charge of being his handler for the day. And when you're a handler, you kind of walk them
Oh yeah.
around and you make sure people don't get too close to them. And Marshall looked at me and was like, "Don't let nobody touch me." And
Mm-hmm.
I looked at him and I said, "Marshall, do you know why you are such a good running back?
Yeah.
Because you're literally agoraphobic. You don't want to be touched by anyone. Like he
Yeah.
does not like to be touched. And
Yeah.
and when people come to hug him, he'll pull back. And
Mm.
I just remember anytime someone would come near him, he'd look at me and I'd have to get like this in front of the person, like, "Hi, sorry, he doesn't want to be touched today." And it was so funny to me to see this legend running back be so like, "I don't want to be near this person. I don't want to be like," it was like his little kryptonite.
Wow.
But what I do respect is he was always polite to
Mm-hmm.
people. He didn't want to hug you, but he was always polite and always respectful. And that's the question I get a lot, you guys, is like, is so and so nice? Is so and so nice? Well, remember something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't work with all of them all the time.
Yeah.
What you should be asking is, were they polite? And most of the time they are. So I've had really good experiences with that.
Yeah, so like for example, like we did work before with Lawrence Taylor here,
Oh,
and he's everybody thinks whatever he's not good or but he was nice to us. I mean, it's the way you is as being part of media, it's the way you react to them and the way you talk to them and the way you respect them. And he loved us when we did it work when we worked with him during an event. So it's all about trust at the end of the day.
absolutely. No, it's trust and remembering like these are humans too. They have like families, they have lives, and sometimes they get tired and sometimes they're grumpy. Goodness knows I'm not great in the morning. So it's remembering that and then remembering again, maybe this is corny, but to me, when you're in a locker room or when you're on floor at Madison Square Garden or at I say crypto, but Staples Center, that's like hollowed ground. That is, you are so lucky to be there. And you better realize that. And you better not, I can't tell you how many different interns I have. Like, I'll take them places and I see them pull out their cell phones and I'm like, oh boy, guess who's never coming back?
Yep.
And these guys are nervous. There's a lot of people out to get them and they're not angels and neither are we.
And yeah, for you though, just talk about tell our fans what's it been like for you throughout your journey, getting where you're at right now with the Football Sexy podcast. But just talk about what's it been like having like in the beginning you talk about James Worthy, Jim Hill, and then Kobe have it just pointing you out every this giving you opportunities and what's that been like for you just to have players give you that opportunities instead of other reporter, but to help you out at that time and moment.
I mean, it was huge for me. I have nothing but love and respect for the people that helped me get to where I am today because it's hard, like there's 50 other of like 500, not 50. What am I saying? Other people, who want to do what you want to do. And I remember James got me a gig as a game runner for KCAL 9. And a game runner, essentially, when the basketball game is going on, down in the tunnel, there are these giant trucks. And these are the trucks that are editing, putting up the scores, and doing everything. When you're a game runner, you're basically running from the truck inside the arena to like or the press box, pulling stats, like bringing them back, and you're running like a crazy person. And you're doing this for about 10 hours a day. And the pay is not much at all. But it's not about the pay. It's about getting there. And while you're there, being sure to be polite and talking to everyone. That was something James always told me he loved about me. He was like, "You're not afraid to talk to anyone, are you?" And I was like, "No." I mean, I know my time and place. I'm not going to walk up to someone while they're eating, but no, I'm not afraid to say hi to anybody. And that to me meant so much, that that man saw something in me that I truthfully didn't see in myself.
Mhm.
And same with Jim Hill. And Eric Karros is funny because I'm an Angels fan. So I always used to joke with Karros, like, what are you known for again? Like, what did you do? Like, and he always would just like glare at me like, Sanaz, I'm going to kill you. But he also would tell me all the time too, Sanaz, make the script funny. You're funny. You know how to be funny and be light. And when you hear so many people pushing for you, you kind of sit back and go, huh, maybe there is something that I have. And once you realize that, you just work your butt off. And you have to not worry about the money. Like I said, I had other jobs that supported my passion. And that's just how it worked for a long time. And I was really lucky, especially when my time with the Lakers is probably the most memorable to me, just because of the connection I have with the Lake organization and my father, and meeting people like Kareem. Like, oh gosh, I'll tell you something. It would take a lot for get me to be starstruck. And there's probably two people in the world that could do it. One is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The other is Stone Cold Steve Austin, because I'm a huge wrestling nerd. Like, I'm a diehard WWE nut.
Oh, you and Peter Rosenberg will get along.
Oh, would we? Is he a
Yeah,
fan?
Peter Rosenberg is a big wrestling fan. I don't know if you know him. He works for Hot 97, and then
Yeah.
he does a show with Michael Kay and Don LaGreca. So,
Oh gosh, I'm a huge wrestling nerd. So those two would be my. I mean, when I met Kareem, I was just like, this is the most intelligent human being ever. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this. Kareem speaks, I think it's like 7 languages fluently,
oh wow,
and it might be more. But when he met me, and I was with Jim Hill, and Jim was like, Kareem, this is my friend Sanaz. Instantly in Farsi was like, Salam hala shama chatori. I was mind blown. I'm like, dude, this guy heard my name and knew I was Iranian, and then started speaking to me in Farsi.
oh wow.
Like, I'm done. I can go and die now. I just met Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he shook my hand. Skyhook forever. Um, and then with, all that experience, and it's funny because people are like, oh, well, a lot of your experiences in basketball, and I'm like, yeah, but sports are sports. And I've been a diehard Charger fan since I was a kid. I still rep San Diego Chargers, but we understand that we're here now. But I love sports, and football to me is so unique. There's so much drama behind it. I love that now they're doing things like Hard Knocks, and like, I feel people like Pat McAfee have done an amazing thing for the sport. Like, this guy was a punter who came out and was like, I know a lot. I'm going to have an entertaining show. I'm going to teach people about sports in a way that's not condescending. And I love that. And getting to see like former athletes I've worked with now becoming announcers, Antonio Gonzalez, and then Mark, it's so cool to see that. And I football to me right now is it's hard during this season because you got football, basketball, and hockey.
Oh, yeah.
But we're in wild card weekend right now, so my
Oh,
focus is all about that.
yeah. So we have another fan question for you. They want to know what's it like covering Los Angeles sports in general. You have a lot of history in Los Angeles and a lot of great players that came out of Los Angeles or play for a Los Angeles team. So they want to know what's it been like for you covering all Los Angeles sports, basically.
An honor. That is the best way to put it. It has been an honor. I mean, we are so lucky living in Southern California to where I can drive. Like I said, I'm in Orange County, 25 minutes up the road. I can catch an Angels game. I can catch a Ducks game. If I want to go another 45 minutes, I'll end up at SoFi. I'll end up at crypto. Like, it's amazing what we have here. The detriment, I will say, is sometimes what it bums you out a little is like when you tune in to watch a Oklahoma City Thunder game and they give away those free t-shirts. Everybody in the arena is wearing those free t-shirts, right? But in LA, our fans are kind of flashy and they're like, well, I don't want to wear this free
Yeah.
t-shirt. My Gucci shirt is on today. So it's a little bit of a juxtaposition, but it's amazing. There's so much excitement in Los Angeles. There's so much history in Los Angeles. I mean, I think they also just announced, I think they might have announced it yesterday, the day before, the Lakers are going to be unveiling the Kobe statue.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on a Thursday during the Nuggets. Like, I remember when the Chick Hearn statue went up. Like, these are huge things in LA that we can be proud of, that I truly think have set the tone for sports. I mean, let's be honest. First off, Showtime, which if you all didn't catch that, was a great show. It should not have been canceled, by the way. Like, I don't see another primetime show getting about, the Raptors. LA is a special place and we love our sports here. And I'm so honored. And it's been such a blessing when I think back and think about all the cool things I've done, like being in a Dodgers clubhouse. That's awesome. Angels clubhouse, like being around people like Mike Trout, who's just a peach, by the way. It's been an honor, really has.
Yeah, speaking of the Dodgers, they're spending stupid money this all season. They stole away Otani from you guys, and but just talk about what are your thoughts on that? And I mean, obviously, Otani, you get to cover Otani again, basically in Los Angeles. But just talk about like, how tough is it to see him leave the Angels and go to the Dodgers like that?
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. Are you kidding? But then you almost feel bad for him and Mike Trout. Like, look, we just can't get it together in the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. It's been rough. But then, like someone like Otani, here's the thing I really appreciate about that. That contract is the closest to being not legal it could be. And they really took a page out of the NFL with that contract. Because what a lot of people don't know is all of that money is deferred. He's not getting that money till the very end. He's getting bits and bits and bits, but most of that money is at the end of the road here. And what they're really banking on is they're going to make so much money off of this guy that by the time that they have to pay him, they've already had it in an escrow bank account and they can hand it on over to him and it's not going to be a big deal. I've heard even people say like, oh no, at that time they're going to sell the Dodgers. And I'm like, okay, I'm so sure they're going to sell the Dodgers. But I think Otani's deal is just groundbreaking. Also keep in fact, this guy's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. You don't even know if he can pitch like he used to.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that they think about. Like, I mean, it's the same thing as when, the Raiders took Jimmy G. They took Jimmy G without him even passing a physical.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, that didn't work out well either. And Jimmy G's another one of those people that's worked so little to make his 160 million, whatever. But that contract with the Dodgers was just insane to me. Shohei is an amazing player. I hope he can pitch like he used to pitch. I don't see many other players at his caliber right now. And great for the Dodgers, man. It sucks for me, but it's great for the Dodgers.
Yeah, we have another fan question for you. They want to know what's your they want to know who's your favorite artist.
Musically?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a mixed bag, guys. I'm a hardcore emo kid.
Oh wow.
So yeah. I'm like having a favorite is tough because I go from everywhere from
Yeah.
Mayday Parade to The Ghost Inside to Jimmy Eat World and My Chemical Romance. And I'm all over the place when it comes to music. So it's tough for me, but I am an emo kid at heart.
Yeah, so talk about tell our fans about your football sexy podcast and talk about what's it like for you guys to have that platform where you can bring in guests. By the way, I love your studio. I've seen it on Instagram. The studio is amazing. But what's it like to have play whoever into the studio and share about their stories and just to have your platform and to be able to share stories like that.
Oh, it's amazing. Like we've brought on guests every once in a while. We had the new voice of the Dodgers as our guest recently, Joe. And he's he's amazing, right? Like, first off, Joe is such a stand-up guy, amazing family man, voice of a broadcast angel, stepping in some pretty big shoes, taking over Vince Scully's position. And I love that when we asked him, how does it feel to step into his position? He's like, I don't view that I'm doing that. I think I'm just moving it along. And I loved that. He's also a great NFL commentator. He covers a lot of NFL games. So we get a lot of random. Sometimes we like to bring on some of our fans, but it's so fun between Melissa, Monica, and I. Melissa's kind of our pop culture girl. She knows everything there is to know about like Taylor Swift, but also diehard Lions fan. She could tell you stats like you wouldn't believe. And I love that because when people look at her, they see a pretty girl, but then she's like, watch out what I'm going to do. Monica's our faithful Niner fan. I mean, her story is so beautiful from how she got into the Niners with her father. And she's so committed to that team. And it's so great to listen to her talk because she's got that passion. And then you have me And I like to say I'm not a homer a lot because listen, I'm a Chargers fan, but I'll be the first to like look right into the camera and be like, stop dropping the ball. Like, like I go hard. I go real hard. And sometimes I have to be a little careful with my attitude because, I never want to offend anybody, but I hope people understand we just want to create a space where it's safe for people to either learn football or they already know it and they want to talk football. Like we all have friends that know and want to learn football, right? But like it's tough for them. Like for me personally, I have an amazing group of friends I call my family.
Yeah.
They're four people: Mike, Kyle, Keely, and Chloe, and we watch football together all the time. Keely and Chloe aren't super into football, but I am, and so are Mike and Kyle. So I just want you to imagine me and two other dudes at like a pizza joint watching the TV screen, and the women are trying to talk to me about something, and I'm like, can you not for a second? Like, like I have to like, but then they'll ask me like, what just happened? And I explain it to them, and they're more invested now, and they want to be involved more now. And I think the stigma has always been, for women especially, if you don't know one thing, you're not a real fan.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. Listen, I'm bad with numbers. I was a communications major. Okay. I don't remember stats very well, but I can tell you this. I can tell you what I think about the Dolphin Kansas City game that's coming up, and it'll be an intelligent opinion. And that's what we want to show, is that you don't need to know everything. Fans are at level 0 to level 100.
Yeah.
This is a safe place to talk. And that's what we want to keep pushing. And we got some big things coming up here in the future. So I want everyone to stay tuned. I can't talk about them yet, but they're coming up.
We have another.
And we have our Super Bowl party. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't even mention that.
Talk about that. Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah. So we held a draft party at the Ice House in Pasadena. It was packed, and so many people loved it that we were like, okay, so people kind of like this. We held a party for the Niners Steelers game, sold out as well. People come, we have food, we have booze, we've got shit talking. It's fun. And so many of our fans reached out and said, we want a place to do Super Bowl. And the Ice House and Johnny were generous enough to be like, okay, take the legendary room. That's the big room with the big screen you see our podcast on. So Super Bowl is going to be at the Ice House. The three of us are going to be there. We're going to have the game on that big screen. We have a lot of fun surprises. We have a lot of great giveaways from Adidas and Dime Industries, and it's going to be a blast. And that's where we will be spending our Super Bowl. And if my prediction is right, it'll be the Niners and the Ravens, but we'll see.
Yeah, we're still holding out hope to get credentials to cover the Super Bowl this year in Vegas. So hopefully.
Oh gosh. Can you
Yeah,
imagine what Vegas is going to be like?
that's lit, packed, crazy, everything.
Between F1 this year being in Vegas and the Super Bowl, I mean, those people are doing just fine. They're
Yeah.
doing just fine.
So we have another fan question, and this is a good one. They want to know, who were some of the female reporters that you looked up to?
Oh, that's a good one. I always loved Rachel Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel is a gangster. She
Yeah.
just asks what she wants to ask. She has her conviction. She looks straight on into that camera and is like, this is what I said. You're going to answer it or you're not. And I loved that about her. Another one who I kind of actually worked alongside was Jamie Maggio. I love Jamie. She's got some great spunk to her. She knows she has a softer side, which is nice. And then, of course, I mean, Erin Andrews.
Yep.
That woman has been through hell and back, and she still has nothing but pride for herself, and she should. She walks tall like she deserves to, and she's respected. And I think Erin is a great example of what people tried to make female reporters into, and she was like, nah, you're not gonna do that to me. You're not gonna go there with me. And I really, really, really like that. I've always liked that.
Yeah, speaking of Rachel Nichols, last year I had the opportunity to cover the Sports Emmy Awards in New York, and she was there, and I had the opportunity. I interviewed her there at the Sports
Oh,
Emmy.
no way.
Yeah, she's amazing, such an inspiration, and yeah, the Sports Emmy Awards was amazing opportunity for us in New York. So that was a great and Rachel Nichols is she's a staple of woman in sports, in my opinion, too.
Dude, she's a badass,
Yeah.
and I don't care and look, and here's the thing about females in sports. We all have rumors. And I'll tell you this, most of them are not true. And Rachel, like I said, is another good example of just being a tough cookie. You're not going to break her. You're not going to. And I love that. And she's a great example of showing like I can be feminine, but I can also be tough. And I love that about her.
Yeah. So I know you're busy. So before we let you go, tell our fans about this weekend's playoff games and what do you have? What do you
Oh gosh.
wins and everything? So.
Okay. Let's get into the most important. I think one of the ones that people are most worried about is the Eagles Tampa Bay game, right?
Yep.
So I've already said I think the Eagles will take it. But Jalen hasn't thrown a ball since his injury.
Hmm.
So that's a little worrisome to me. AJ Brown has been a little off kilter a bit, and that worries me. But I mean, look, it's going to come down to experience. I don't think Baker Mayfield has the experience. I think he's been playing some of the best ball he's been playing lately. To me, it will come down to experience, and I think the Eagles will take it. The Eagles' offense, though, has got to get a little more creative. They've got to get a little more creative. People have figured your number out, and if someone like Evans for Tampa Bay has a good game, it's gonna be rough.
Mhm.
Um, Another game I was arguing with my father about last night was the Rams Lions game.
Mm.
So we love the drama of the quarterbacks here,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like we've got chips on our shoulders. Goff is a little like, I don't want to see my Rams people again. Stafford's like, I don't want to see the Lions again. And I love that. This game's actually, I think when I checked the odds this morning, it was like 49 to 51%. I want to say the Lions will take it because St. Brown is just playing best ball right now. Okay, he's playing best ball. But then you look at someone like Nakua for the Rams, who really came out of nowhere, right? I think the world thought the Rams were going to crumble without Cooper Kupp. But then here comes this Nakua kid, and like, oh, you really want to see him win. I'm going to give this game to Detroit because they're my Cinderella story. Like they haven't had luck in so long. And to go from being the crappiest team last year to having this year, it only gives Charger fans a hope. So I'm really rooting for the Lions in that one. And then the other one that is really on my heart is the Dolphins Kansas City Chiefs game.
Mm.
Having Tyreek Hill on my fantasy league for the past few years, I have a keeper league.
Mm.
Um, I've always trusted him. He's my faithful workhorse, right? He started out the season by saying, I'm going to get 2,000 yards this year. He's a little shy of it, but if they continue to play, he might hit it. The problem is going into Arrowhead used to be a scary thing. People were terrified to play in Arrowhead. But now Kansas City's dropped so many times there that it's not that scary anymore. I
Right.
read it's going to be about 30 degrees. That's what worries me for Miami is they're not a great cold weather team. They're not used to it. But Mostert is a charging horse, like it once and you look at a team like Miami, Waddle, Moser, Hill, they've got so many targets. And then you look at Kansas City and you think they have a lot of targets, right? But like Pacheco, Kelsey with the Taylor Swift thing, I don't know if it's a curse or whatever, but it's not so well. And I'm going to give that game, I can't even say it. I can't even say it. I don't even know. I would love for the Dolphins to win that game. I think Mahomes is fired up. I think he's embarrassed a little bit by his actions lately, which I don't think he should be, by the way, because if you're an athlete, you're passionate. And he didn't come out cursing anybody. Now, he did do the dumb thing when he went into the huddle, whatever. But I think he's fine. I think he's got a fire under him. And I think Kansas City will come out on top in that game.
Interesting. We'll take one more fan question. They want to
Yeah.
know what are your thoughts on the Cowboys Packers game?
That's a great one. Okay. Here are my things with the Cowboys, guys. The Cowboys don't lose at home.
Mhm.
They do not lose at home. We get that, right? They love that turf. I don't know what's in that turf. It's just, look at your shirt, for goodness sakes. Here we go. Um, like I argue with you. Like, do I think Dak is an MVP? I'm sorry, I don't. I truthfully don't. I think Pollard's great. I think Lamb is great. I think you guys have the defensive player of the year on your team, but you guys don't do well on the road.
Yeah.
Do I think you'll take this game? Yes. Jordy Love is still getting his footing. Reed is, Jones is doing okay. The Dallas Cowboys will win this game. Having said that, if your next game is away, I don't see it happening. And I have a huge thing between this turf and grass war. I think you guys should be playing on grass. That's how we all started playing as kids. Like, play on grass. I don't know what it is about that turf or what kind of cleats you have on those Dallas Cowboys, but they're clutching in a little bit better when they're there. So I'll give that game to Dallas. Next game, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I do think the Niners and the Ravens will be in the Super Bowl. The Niners, if they stay healthy, are just there's too many monsters and beasts on that team. Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy has made himself relevant. I mean, one day they go to Kittle. One day it's Debo. One day it's ridiculous, you know. And the Ravens, Lamar was my fantasy quarterback this year. What I think people should pay attention to is they really trying to transition Lamar out of a running quarterback
Yeah.
position as his age goes up. And I think he's fighting it a little bit. So I think that he will see a little bit more running out of him, especially when we get to the Super Bowl, if he gets to the Super Bowl. And I've always said this, when it gets to the Super Bowl, you better have that running game.
Yes.
You know, the league is becoming a pass league, but Super Bowl, you
Running game.
better know how to run that ball.
Well, Seattle can learn from that. So.
That Seattle can learn from that. I mean, what else have we learned? Like the tush push, we've learned from that this year, and now they want to get rid of the tush push, and there's a lot to learn. I mean, Seattle's a team that's got to get better,
Yeah.
you know. And the last thing I do want to mention though is, can we give flowers to Joe Flacco?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh my God, from the couch to the playoffs.
from the couch to the playoffs, my friend, taking on the Texans and CJ Stroud, who also I want
Yeah.
to give a little shout out to, because a lot of people doubted CJ after that cognitive test came out. And, you know, they really just didn't think. I think he got one of the worst scores you could have ever gotten, but whatever. CJ is a class act. I think he's handled himself very well. He's kept his head up high. He's playing great right now, you know, and with not too much. So, I mean, Collins and Singletary, great. They're not amazing, but you have them. But I mean, with Flacco, wow. And the Browns, to me, have the best defense in the league.
Yep.
So I'd love to see Joe Flacco, you know, do it again and go out a little further, but we'll see what happens. It's football. Any given Sunday, guys. Any given Sunday.
I mean, I can't wait for these playoffs. The great games coming up this weekend, and fans, man, thank you for putting out your questions for Sanaz today.
Thank
Great questions
you.
for them. But I want to, before I let you go, I just want to get your thoughts on Adam Peters. What are the Commanders getting in Adam Peters as a GM?
That's a tough one for me. Um, he's a really intelligent guy. He's been an assistant GM. He knows what he's doing. The Commanders are a team that right now I think are a little lost. I mean, for goodness sakes, they don't even know what their name is going to be next year. Peters, he's a really he's a motivating assistant GM. That's what I like to call him. From everything I've read about him, everything I've heard, his work as an assistant, he loves to motivate his team and spread positivity. And I think right now, that's what the Commanders need. They need someone that's going to come in and say, listen, things aren't great, but they can get better. They can get better. And he's got a really sound mind when it comes to sports. He's very calm, cool, and collected. I think it'll be a really good fit. And I really hope the Commanders can turn it around. I'm bummed they let go of Ron Rivera, but I really hope they can turn it around. And we'll see what their name will be next year.
And the name too, yeah. And
The team's looking for an identity.
you're set on Jim Harbaugh and Ron Rivera as your coach, right? On the Chargers.
I would love either of them. I love them both. Please do. I don't know what Michigan's going to offer Jim. I think to Jim it's going to come down to the money.
Yeah.
And I think if Michigan can offer him something, which they probably will, you know, it'll be tough to get him over here. But you know, he's had experience in the NFL. Lest we forget the last time the Niners and Ravens played, it was the battle of the Harbaugh brothers. So I think I would love him. I would like Ron Rivera to come back too. I really would. I think they interviewed Kellen Moore as well, who's already on our staff, and I like him, but I think we need someone with a little more experience and a little more, dare I say the word, presence. The locker room needs to be shaken up a bit. We need to shake things up a bit, and we just haven't had that in a little bit. And I don't know who's coaching the wide receivers, and I don't know what kind of glue you got to put on those gloves, but please stop dropping passes.
Yeah.
I can't take it anymore.
But yeah, so it's, where can our fans find you guys on social media?
Yeah, so our Instagram is called Football is Sexy. We have an app that's available for Android and iPhone. You can check us out there. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on anywhere you can stream. I mean, if I said, I don't want to yell my Alexa too loud right now, but if I asked Alexa to play football is sexy, she would do that for me right now. Our podcast is fun. It's different. You never know what we're going to get into. Sometimes we talk pop culture, sometimes we just talk football, and it's a hoot. And again, you can definitely see us. Tickets are on sale. It is limited seating because it's assigned seating at the Ice House in Pasadena for Super Bowl Sunday. Again, we have giveaways, food, drinks, everything you can imagine. A couple of special guests I can't mention that'll be
Oh,
coming
wow.
by. But it'll be a great day. And I love the support. I love you guys so much for caring. And anytime you guys want to connect with us, my handle is Sanaz Said So. I really try to reply to everyone as quickly as possible. And I'm here to just answer questions, talk football, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's on Twitter, right? Or Instagram. You're
Yes. Yeah. Sanaz Said So is my Instagram handle. So
So there you have it, Sanaz Tavassol. Thanks for joining the show. This was awesome. Great stories. Mate, you guys do an amazing job. And like I said, thank you for sharing on this platform. And we'll definitely stay connected throughout the playoffs and have you back on or something or do a live podcast. And but keep up the great work. And you're such an inspiration. And thank you for coming. And thank you to our
well, to you as well. I mean, listen, your podcast is amazing, and I think we need to give it a little more shine here. You've interviewed some amazing people.
have you
You are
seen it already?
so open minded. Yeah, I've watched you. Come on, man. Like, but you're great, and I really appreciate you, and I love your podcast. I love this platform. Thank you so much for giving me this time to talk, and I hope to be on again soon.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you. And have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. And tell Monica and Melissa that I said hi.
I will.
And also they should come on too.
Yes, they would love to.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Of course.
Let me